Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brooke Morrison. Welcome back to Fandom Culture. This is a place for fans of fans, and everybody in between. You know, if you've listened to any of the prior episodes, this is a place where I like to bring on especially media professionals to talk about their place within fandom culture and how they actually interact with fans on a day-to-day basis. So I have an amazing guest. You guys both have so much history, not only together, but also as just like people and dancers and whatever you've done. So this is STEEZY, and go ahead and introduce yourselves individually.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Marie. I am a creative strategist, and under that umbrella, I do photography. I do art direction. I do styling, modeling, writing, etc., etc., etc. And I do it also for STEEZY.
So with STEEZY, I'm one of the co-founders of STEEZY. So we started back in 2014. I've done everything from setting up cameras and lighting to graphic design and finance. So STEEZY is right now online dance classes from the world's best instructors. So we're a subscription video on demand app where you can get access to all the dancers that teach for pretty much all the artists that you see. So like their choreographers or their dancers, and you can get access to over 16 different dance styles and all of it at just like your fingertips at home for just $20 a month or $100 a year.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know any of that. Yeah. I'm like learning stuff because I know you guys personally at this point. So you guys, it's like the brand is like back here, but it's like Connor and Tiff first. You know what I mean? Also, these guys are married, by the way, which is adorable.
My
and you
husband.
love them.
My wife.
Beautiful people.
Did not ring my ring again.
On camera.
I'm sorry.
Just like put that one over there. Pretend like we're married.
That my other.
Pretend like we're married.
Pretend like we're married.
Pretend.
Yeah.
Let's first of all talk about like the brand that you've built in general, because this is insane. I actually went to the STEEZY office for the first time like a few months ago, maybe like 6 months ago at this point. And that was the day Babyface was there. And you guys were running around and doing so much stuff, and it's so cute. And it's downtown LA, and it's just such a vibe and everything. And you have this great space. You've updated it. What took you from the very beginning to now this massive thing that you guys have, and then 1-point-something million subscribers on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, like when you say it like that, it sounds like really cool.
Because it is.
Wow, we're hype women.
Yeah. I should hire you to like write our taglines.
I absolutely will.
So for us, I think like, well, at the core of it, it's like me and my co-founder Evan were both dancers, right? So we love dance
10
culture.
years ago, two boys met on a dance team.
Oh my God, you were on a dance team?
Yeah,
together.
so me and Evan were both competitive dancenders. We competed on this team called GRV.
Not competitive.
And yeah, we're like really intense into like competing.
Okay.
But obviously, like, you know, we ended up like not being pros and ended up working.
Okay. You know, it's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Fine.
You know, my dream of being a pro dancer is still back in my head someday.
Did you really have a dream of being a professional dancer?
Not really.
Oh.
I always knew that maybe
yeah.
her. Yeah.
I did. I for sure did.
I
still
knew
wanna be
that it
Britney
was like a
Spears, but-
hobby.
I still want to be Britney Spears.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
done.
Right.
Yeah. One day.
I'll do it.
One day.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Go on.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like from there, we basically met for lunch one day because we were like, we're adults and we had jobs now and we weren't dancing anymore. Mm-hmm. And we're like, you know, like, I just miss the dance community so much. There's like so much information that wasn't getting shared because at this time it was 2014. So there wasn't like podcasts about dance. There was like really nothing out there. And so like you would have all these people in these dance communities where you'd like hang out at Denny's and you just talk about stuff. And I'm like, how come like none of this is getting shared?
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand that, because that's something that like, it is crazy when you look back and you think that things weren't being shared the way that we do now.
Yeah.
Because it's at such a rapid pace and everybody knows everything, and there are tutorials online and like subscriptions you can buy and things like that. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. So keep going.
Yeah. So then Evan and I were like, well, what if we just like started this blog? So we actually started as a blog. So we were writing all this content that was like 5 tips on how to pick up choreography, or like 3 ways to look stronger when you're dancing, or like 7 things to make you feel better at the dance class, or what have you.
Oh, that's nice.
What it's like dating a dancer was my favorite.
Those things like that as well.
Okay.
So we also had that.
Quirky little
like
social
little
moments.
memes in between and whatnot.
Nice.
And so in the first 2 weeks we hit like 70,000 page views. Like just kind of like naturally just kind of blew up. And then in that time, it was just a passion project, right? We're like, we're just gonna like make content that we like, put it on the internet. Hopefully, it helps people. And then Tiff was one of the first people.
If you back it up, actually.
Back it up. Okay.
So one of the things that STEEZY was doing to market themselves was photograph dance competitions.
Yes.
And
before photograph dance.
Yeah. Like all these like hip hop dance competitions or like, like bridge dance competition or prelude and all that.
Okay.
There was this one dance competition, Bridge NorCal. And I think that was one of the first competitions you guys photographed. And I was actually dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually took a photo of me.
Oh, my God.
On stage.
I did.
This is what, like, March.
It's all coming together.
May. Literally 1 month after you guys started. May 2014.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
I don't know. I can't remember that part back.
Wow.
But I know that like we needed photographers because and this is how I learned how to shoot photos. I actually learned to shoot photos for STEEZY because we couldn't afford to pay anybody.
Well, yeah.
And so
startup life. Yeah.
I was like, yo, Evan, like go to Costco, pick up that $500 like Canon bundle kit, like the Rebel, like whatever one. And on the way to the event, I'm like on Google, like looking up how to shoot a photo with a DSLR.
Nice. Which is what I do on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Like I just like YouTube things.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, let me watch a video on how to start a podcast and like whatever. But yeah.
But you took my favorite action shot of me on stage. And it was like, and then everybody got tagged in these like STEEZY dance competition action shots. And it was like the coolest thing ever to get tagged in one of those albums.
So if you can you send it to me? Because I'll like put it in the video.
I can actually send it to you.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it was really cute.
Yeah, they're all there. I mean, this was like, so this is like 2014. So like Facebook was still a thing.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah.
Everything was
like,
on Facebook.
Yeah.
So
still technically a thing, just not, the same way. Yes.
Yeah. Not in the US and it's meta now. But like, so we like would create these albums and basically would tag all these people. So people would like wait for their photos and they would share it. And so I was like part of like one of our like growth tactics in the early days of like getting the word out around STEEZY.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your goal though in creating that? Like, did you think it would be what it is now? Like, was this always the vision?
No. So the vision for STEEZY, surprisingly, which is something that like kind of grew over time and just kind of like, it's like amorphous in a sense. And it kind of grew with our confidence too, like of how STEEZY was built. Because like I said, it was kind of just like hey, let's do this because it's kind of cool. But I think like deep down inside, what we always knew is like the vision for STEEZY is actually to make dance the next big sporting industry. So we believe that dance has the ability to be just as big as like surf or skate culture. And there should be like an NBA of dance, but it doesn't really exist. For a lot of different reasons, and that's a whole different conversation we go into another day.
Wow, yeah, because I never even considered that being a thing. Just because like I'm so far outside of that culture. Even though I think we all think we can dance and we all think that like we could be a dancer if we really want to, but it's much harder than anybody ever thinks it is. Anybody who's gone to a class knows that, and that's why I'm terrified of going to a class, and I never will. But I like to dance occasionally at home, you know what I mean? But yeah, it'd be nice if you could actually get some sort of like verification to prove that like you've put the work in and you know what you're doing. And there's really nothing like that exists.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Well, I mean, what as a brand do you think STEEZY says to your guys' followers and people that subscribe and people that learn from you guys? What do you think the main message is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, from that, I think there's a couple of different like audiences like as a brand. I think specifically for the product, it's like, well, our belief is that anybody can dance. We do believe anybody can dance. They just need the right tools.
No, that's, I totally feel that.
And also, I think that dance is such a natural thing. Like from the moment you hear music as a child, your body will naturally react to it. The moment you hear rhythm, the moment you hear melody, a harmony, anything, you'll just either want to sing along or dance along or both, right? So from when you're a child, you don't really have a sense of embarrassment. You don't really have that ego that tells you that you suck at dance. Right. You just want to move around to it. And so I think there's this point where we get to an age where we realize it's a skill-based thing and we lose our passion to dance along to music, right? Because we just get inhibited by fear and all of these like doubts and stuff come into our head. But if you go back to when you were a kid and the first time you heard Britney Spears, what did you do? You danced to it, right? Everybody was dancing.
First Shania Twain.
Shania Twain number one.
Yeah. And then Britney Spears came.
Yeah. So if you think about it, it's like, it's not necessarily doing something that you've never done before. It's like you said, everybody has danced.
It's like tapping into something that's innate.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike. Like if you go back to it, if you start feeling that rhythm, if you let go of that fear, you'll be able to do it. And it's usually that doubt that like constricts your body, stiffens you up, that like makes you stop yourself from grooving naturally.
So how did you start dancing then? When was that like your main thing?
I started dancing, I never stopped. I was one of those kids that, like, I never stopped. I, like, refused to stop. Like, I was 3 years old getting up on top of tables, like, dancing with my napkin. And so my mom was like, we need to channel this energy elsewhere.
Yeah.
I was never great. I was never a great dancer. But I was always so in love with it that it was just, like, because I wasn't really good at talking back in the day. I was like really, I feel like I had a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts, but not a lot of tools verbally to express them.
Right.
So dance was the first way that I learned how to, just say all the abstract things that I was feeling in my body and like shake it out.
Yeah.
Like whether I was sad or happy or anything. Oh my God, there's so many moody videos of me like contemporary to some kind of sad song.
You have one pinned on your Instagram, right?
Oh yeah.
There's one up there.
But that's a better one.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, like that's one. Obviously, it's pinned, so I feel like you're like, look at me dance.
I was like, well, this one's good. I'm gonna keep this one up there.
That's amazing. But what about you? I feel like I've always known like you love dance, you love doing it, and you're like obviously like a very outspoken person. You though, I feel like are a little bit less just out there in the same way. So to know that you like were into dance and you wanted to be a competitive dancer is kind of like crazy to me. But like, I don't know you as well as I know Tiff as well. So like, when did that start for you?
I think for me too, like I think like over the years, like building a startup's hard. So I've been very like just kind of hiding in the back and letting STEEZY kind of speak for itself. But I started dancing like when I was 13 or 14. I remember, so basically I started as a b-boy. So I was like out here b-boying.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
In the streets of New York.
Boys with attitude,
I basically, it's funny because I remember I was at this school dance in middle school, right? And it was like the last dance of middle school. And then all of a sudden my friends like are b-boying and like they're like my friends, and I'm like, what do you mean you like, when did you learn to do this? And they're like, oh yeah, we like meet up on Wednesdays with my brother.
We meet up on Wednesdays.
I was like, what do you mean?
B-boy, and they left you out. That's,
totally, so rude.
Yeah.
So then that whole summer before high school, I was like, yo, I gotta learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And
like an anime training.
I was like, I have to learn how to. Like, I was like, I just need to do a windmill.
I wouldn't want to be left out. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, so I started doing that, and then like in high school, like in New York, I was like that weird kid that was always trying to like b-boy in the corner during lunch or something in the corner,
trying
just
to b-boy
find
in the corner.
some space.
Nice.
Yeah, and then through that, like, and then when I moved to LA, I like found this whole world of like competitive like performance choreography dancing, where I was like, what is this? And it was just coincided with the year that like America's Best Dance Crew came out.
Yes, what a like transformative moment for all of us, honestly. I think that's when we all started to realize like dance could be a career, like something to do.
And So You Think You Can Dance also.
So You Think You Can Dance. Yeah, but it was America's Best Dance Crew was a moment.
It was.
Like it was transformative. Even for me, like Jabberwockies will live in infamy just off of that show alone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just insanity. And obviously with something like what you guys are doing too, this is the first time I've seen, and I'm sure there are other companies out there, obviously, like, especially media companies that are based around dance, but the way that you guys do it and represent it, especially as, I don't know, I feel like you guys really represent the Asian space as well, very heavily, and even with K-pop, in a way that I've never seen anybody really own it yet. So, and that was kind of like my next thing is I wanted to ask you guys why you leaned into K-pop for STEEZY.
Well, I mean, first, it's because our co-founder, Evan, loves K-pop. I think that's, like, the first. So shout out to, Evan and his K-pop.
Yeah.
I think, like, the thing about K-pop, which is, like, super cool, is that I think looking at it from the lens of dance and what makes it so awesome is that they hire most of the choreographers that you see, like, from the competitive world that we came from when we were competing. Like, those choreographers, like, so many of them were, like, the inspiration behind the movement and performance that you see across all of these, like, groups.
Yeah.
Like, first-gen K-pop has a lot of, like, choreographers from the Asian American dance space.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, like, looking at it from that lens, it's like, for us, like, STEEZY's whole thing is, like, making sure that we're connecting communities, like, and having the cultures be represented, like, in an authentic way. That's, like, really important for us.
Right.
And so K-pop's interesting because it's an opportunity for us to kind of do a little bit of, like, showing you kind of the history throughout all of it. Like, whether it's, like, you have our style classes with, like, Buddha Stretch, like, he created, like, freestyle hip-hop, to, like, our what we coin open style, which is a mix of, like, all these different styles, which is essentially what K-pop is.
Yeah.
And K-pop, the music, being kind of representative of the same thing, right? Like, when you listen to K-pop, it's like EDM, then there's hip-hop, and it's like all of these styles, Latin elements, like everything's mixed in. And I think that's really cool because it shows, like, where we are today as, like, kind of, like, globally, where, like, cultures do collide and then are birthed with this new creative that's amazing that everybody can enjoy regardless of, like, who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes for dance specifically too, because I believe the same way with dance, right? It's like there is no language barrier. Like, we can all exchange energy through dance and understand each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I also think that a big part of it is a lot of these dancers that were big in K-pop, or like they came up with the Kpop community.
Yeah.
Most people don't know about them. You know all about, you know everything from, like, the time that a K-pop dancer is born or a K-pop artist is born.
Yeah.
But you don't know anything about who choreographed it.
Yeah.
I think only recently have
It has, there's been moments where people have been like, that's so-and-so. Or like, that somebody did. Because with BTS, what is her name? Oh my God, Lalau, Sienna Lalau. Yeah. That she's become a huge facet of the ARMY community, and just everybody loves her, and she'll come out with J-Hope at Lollapalooza and has become a part of that branding. Yeah. So I think it's been really nice seeing the choreographers being celebrated in a way that we had never seen in the past.
I think that was something that we wanted to stand behind when we started doing K-pop also. It was like every single time we have a K-pop instructional video, we make sure to include every dancer that helped choreograph this piece. We're like, okay, this was choreographed by all of these people. And like, even like sometimes we'll try to find out who the performance director was of the movement, everything behind it, and like show that all of these people's brains were behind this amazing piece that these K-pop artist did so like beautifully on stage.
Yeah.
It's more than just them. It's like a whole army behind them.
Yeah. It is a lot about identity, I feel like, especially too with the way that you guys are like giving credit where it's due, because these people who make dance their life, obviously you find a lot of like validation in that, and you find a lot of credibility in that. And I think it's the first time we're seeing dancers find that validation within the industry and be hired off of different projects based on their name alone.
I actually started off doing like Chinese cultural dance. So like,
okay, that's amazing though.
Yeah, like
that's
with like the
really
fans
cool.
and like the ribbons and like
There's a photo here.
Yeah, there's like so that's how I started off.
But that's it. Okay, but again, that's perfect because it's a representation of who you are.
Yeah, but I feel like in high school, like the cheerleaders were always cool, but the dance company, we were not so much. We were like thought of as a little bit weird and eccentric.
Yeah.
Like we're like too expressive or something. I don't know.
No, I feel that because I think like kids and teenagers.
Yeah.
If you express yourself too much, it's very like what's the word for it? Oh my God, I keep like messing up words today.
It's like
polarizing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Because
like,
it's very expressive. So I think like then going into college, well, Well, when I was in high school, one of my dance teachers actually ended up on So You Think You Can Dance.
Nice. Okay. Lit.
Ivan.
Star.
Ivan.
I don't remember.
He's the white guy with the big ears. Oh. Sorry, Ivan, if you're watching this. But I mean, you know you have big ears.
Oh my God.
Ivan.
This is why I wanted Tiff on this podcast. I'm telling you guys right now, this is exactly why. But no, I'm sure he's great. Also, I have really big ears, Ivan. I have huge ears. It's fine. Like, that's why I don't wear my hair up. We're still really hot and awesome people. So.
Yeah. But he was on the show, and it like showed me other worlds and out of like dance. And then that's like what you said, America's Best Dance Crew is when I learned really about hip hop. I was like, what? I want to do hip hop. But then I was like, so like loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
And then going into college is when we joined the hip-hop dance crews that like,
nice,
are based on the culture groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like, when people ask like, oh, like, how do you devote like almost 10 years now into building, STEEZY and like, because it's such a dance-based thing. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean to you? I think from that angle, it's always been, dance was the first thing that I felt connected me to other people, like truly, like when I found like my group of people, it was like dancers, like my wife, dancer, and like, and everything that we've done in the space has always been around like dance as its core, and it's what pulled us all together. And I think that's like really big for me, right? Like it was like, I think there's that for a lot of people, right? Like where it's like, oh, like, we came together because of K-pop, our love for K-pop. And in this case, it was like dance. And I think that's something that's really meaningful. And I think even though I don't like really dance as much, at least not the same way I used to, right? I'm not going to rehearsals and I'm not competing.
Smoke you on the dance floor, though.
I'm not.
I was going to say, do you ever just like randomly dance? I don't know. I've never seen you dance, even at parties. I feel like you're just kind of like,
at parties. Yeah, I do.
Well,
that.
Yeah, it's like more like a normal guy dance at parties.
Give him a couple more drinks.
Will you b-boy?
No, definitely not b-boy. That's a lot of energy.
So let's talk about like the celebrities that you guys collaborate with too, because you guys have done everything from like Netta and Babyface, like the day that I was there, and then also like doing reactions with Jackson Wang, which again, huge name in the K-pop and Chinese space. So for you guys, that span of artists and artistry that you guys bring in to STEEZY as well, I would love to hear your guys' opinion on that kind of stuff and why you continue to kind of use such a broad, you guys aren't like niche, like doing niche stuff, right? You guys aren't like, oh my God, we're a K-pop channel or like something like that. You guys bring in Ellen and Brian, but you also bring in other choreographers to do your stuff. What does that mean to you to keep things so broad?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that like over time has happened. But I think it is core to like us, like in that I think the style of dancing that we've done, like although like a lot of people call it hip hop, is open, right? It's a style that has so many different influences, whether it is truly hip hop to like even some of the contemporary movement. And I think when you think about like the variety of like what we bring onto the platform and to the brand itself, it is the idea that like we're bridging all these different pieces. Like dance can exist without music, but like to really, if in today's age, you can't really separate those two, right? Like you look at what TikTok has done, like TikTok dancing has done to launch music, and you're like,
right.
Is it the music or is it the dance? But then it's inspired by the music, but then it's the dance. Like,
chicken and the egg.
Yeah. Oh my God, we've talked about that so often, especially like here, because I've had a lot of radio people in here, and we always talk about like how the industry's changing and like what's happening, especially with TikTok.
Yeah,
and it is really that. It's literally equal parts music and equal parts dance, because the music is what's leading the dance. The dance is inspired by the music, and then you have these like 10-second clips that are earworms and getting caught in your head, and then like, but the dance is what you want to be doing because it makes you look cool and like it makes you look hot and sexy and like whatever the hell you're doing. It just like I feel like brings it to level like 15.
I always say that dance is the visual representation of what the music is supposed to look like, right? Like when you see someone do movement in their body, it makes you hear like all the intricacies of the song more, right? Like that little snare, that little hi-hat. Like when somebody dances and like uses their body to emphasize those moments, you hear the music better and you remember it much more strongly, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so like everybody becomes the visualizer for the music,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that's like extremely powerful because you don't need anything. Like I don't have to pull up my phone to show you. Like I can just like make some sounds and do
Yeah.
the thing, and you're like, oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I really like about STEEZY is the fact that like, and I know this is going to sound weird, not the fact that you you don't dance anymore. And I like that. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is like dance has meant so much to you that you built your entire life around it. And you want to continue to share that message and everything. What's the scariest thing about being like the owner of a brand or company?
that's a toll.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Sorry, I didn't mean my bad.
No. That's a good question. I think like for me, it's because STEEZY is successful, and so we do so many things. Like it's so many people's like only experience like learning how to dance because like we have users in 100 countries on the world, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like their only access to this level of choreography and this variety of styles.
Right.
And all the way to like if you're just like a casual fan that watches like our YouTube series, you know what I mean? Like it's so broad. Or if you're like a dance fan, you're a K-pop fan, you're like, oh my God, like I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
I think there's like a level of responsibility that like STEEZY has kind of crossed the gap for, where it does feel heavy in a lot of ways with like the responsibility of what we've built.
Right.
Yeah, like
Right.
there's because dance specifically is culture, right? Like hip hop dance came from like DJ Kool Herc, those parties that were being thrown, like that time in life. B-boying was like
True.
created out of like gangs that were battling that now found through b-boying could speak to each other and work their things out.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at like salsa, like all these different like types of dancing is culture, and they
Right.
can't be separated from that. And I think in a world where like you have so much media and so saturated, and like there's these TikTok dances where like people forget that these were once like movements or things that were tied to a specific moment of life. And so our responsibility in that and like threading that to share and to broaden, because I think it should be shared. It
Right.
should be something we all love, but still be able to tell those stories and not have that lost
Yeah.
in the movement,
Yeah.
I think is like difficult. So I think there's a lot of responsibility there, if that answers your question.
I think
Yeah.
that there are a lot of quote unquote cheaper ways to get successful through dance. There's like easier, cheaper hacks.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you
Ooh.
can make cheaper and easier content. But I think
Ah.
that Connor has always emphasized that this company is not about that. He's always made sure that when we are creating content, him and all of our like, you know, like the people in charge of our content, like Clay, who's our director of YouTube,
Right.
they are very, very, very big on authenticity and history and culture. So I think that like they carry that responsibility really, really strongly.
Yeah.
And they make sure that even if you work at the company and you are not familiar or even educated with dance, they do educate you. They do make
Yeah.
sure that like you like there's a million suggestions, right? There's always going to be a million suggestions, million ways and million different types of contents that we could do. And even like going back to your comment about celebrities,
Yeah.
there's so many ways that we could partner with celebrities and everything to like do content that could go viral.
Right.
But we're actually really, really, really picky with what we greenlight because of those like strong sense of responsibility that both that Connor, Evan, and Clay have instilled in us as like the team.
Yeah.
So even like when it comes to like we've had some big name celebrities be like, oh yeah, they want to pull up. And we're like, well, what are we going to do with them? They're like, you know, like just have a dancer like dance for them. It's like, well,
have a dance,
you
for
know,
them.
like
Just perform.
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
like dancers aren't like circus monkeys.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure that could feel really degrading.
So like, you know, one of the things that I think is really, really important with STEEZY is that we work with people that understand and respect the creative of dance and respect dancers as peers and as like equals rather than they're like the celebrity and dancers are the puppet monkeys or whatever. So every celebrity, every artist, every like anyone that we've worked with, we've been able to clarify that like eye-to-eye understanding and that simpatico relationship between dance and music. And those are the people we work with. Like Jackson Wang, that guy gets it.
Yeah.
He loves
He's great. He's great.
dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And I've interviewed him before and
Yeah.
he's so pleasant.
Yeah.
He's just such a nice dude.
So much respect for
Yeah.
like the art form, so much respect for like trying to learn everything. Yeah, you know, like so these are the only artists that we want to partner with, people that are willing to also put in something for us. Like like either sit there and like genuinely appreciate and understand, or like, you know, work with us in other ways.
Yeah, like, because even our, like, dancer react series, right? It's so focused on the dancing. It's like, oh, like, this choreographer put this on. And if the artist is involved, it's like, oh, how did that feel when the artist, like, when the choreographer put that on you? Or, like, what was it like coming together? It is really focused on dancing, because I think even in, like, the term back up dancers, right? They're like backup. They're not, like, the ones at the front. And, you know, that's okay in the artistry and whatever. I get it. But I think, like, for us, it's like, if dance is the forefront, dance is the core of everything that we do, then how is that always at the forefront? Even if we do have an artist, it's actually the other way around. It's like, hey, like, you're here to help shine a light on these dancers and put them at the forefront. Yeah. And together, it'll help you too, right? Like, it's good press for you, you know, it's all good. So it's a win-win situation, but the dancers are at the front this time. Yeah. And that's why it's different.
Absolutely. Yeah. So who's next then with collaborations?
I don't think we talk about that.
Oh.
Yeah.